Hi folks, hope you're okay. I'm going to just do another quick video. I just want to talk about a very important topic. Um, so if you want to support the work, you can go to Patreon, our European website, these places. Okay. Okay. I just want to give my thoughts about the protest that erupted outside Villa's Park before Aston Villa and the Tel Aviv football team. And what I want to say is a couple of things. First of all, the issue was not to allow the football supporters of Tel Aviv go to watch the football match. First of all, it's irrelevant about the issue of safety. Basically, what you've allowed to happen there in our culture is anti-Semitism. There is a kind of Jewish phobia going on in our British society. Jewish people don't feel safe. We had the attack at the synagogue in Manchester. So the British government and the Birmingham Council should have done everything in their power to make the Tel Aviv football fans welcome, especially in the light of the attack at the synagogue. And so I think it's an absolute watershed in British history that Jewish people were not allowed to go to their football to watch football. That is going back to the times of the Second World War, where Jewish people had a star put on them and they couldn't do anything without a yellow star. The pogroms in Russia and Europe. We're going back to those times where Jewish people are being persecuted. That's the first thing I want to say. So I think that I know that Starmer came out and said he disagreed with the council. I think that was not good enough. I think what you've done there is you've put a precedent on encouraging anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish sentiment in British society. Many Jews now don't feel safe in Britain, and many will be looking to move back to Israel or to flee the country. There are thousands that have fled France, and I'm sure there's going to be and is ongoing mass exodus of Jewish people from British soil, because if they can't even go to a football match, well, they are not free in their own country. And if football supporters of Tel Aviv cannot go to watch their team, okay, they might be traveling from Israel, but there would be many Jewish people in UK that would have wanted to go and see that football match, and yet they were not allowed to do so. So that's the first thing. And so Britain is in a very dark, whatever else is going on in Britain, that is a dark stain on British history. You've allowed mass anti-Semitism to be normalized in British society. The police have normalized it. Parliament has normalized it. The King has normalized it. The Council of Birmingham have normalized it. What should have happened is the King should have denounced the Muslims and the people who were saying that they're going to come outside the football stadium and campaign. They should have been condemned outrightly. The police should not have allowed the protesters near the football stadium, and the 700 police should have been used to disperse any protest. And the people who want to go and see the football match should have been allowed to go and see the football match without fear. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is the issue of allowing the Free Palestine protesters right next to the football stadium. That was obviously allowed by the police, which means the council and the authorities and larger authorities, i.e. the government, even though they said they didn't agree with it, allowed those protesters to go right near the football stadium. I think that was the second disgrace that the British establishment and also the local council made. Obviously, having those protesters near the football stadium was going to cause outrage and possible violence. Fortunately, violence didn't happen. But you are purposely politicizing a football match and putting people's lives in danger by putting all those protesters, who many of them were masked up, and many of them were young men that came later to look for violence. You purposely put them near the stadium. So you put people's lives at risk, all to give some kind of political stage to the protesters. Thirdly, there was no thought for the football fans. They were treated as second-class citizens. They were kettled and pushed about, and a lot of them got angry, and rightly so. But they were not treated with respect. They were not treated with respect. They were treated as second-class citizens in their own country, while the To the River to the Sea Brigade were allowed to do whatever they wanted. And then fourthly, I just want to say that the establishment are playing a very dangerous game. In order to push this agenda of pro-Palestine, you could have sparked off major riots throughout the UK, because if the football fans suddenly wake up and realise, wait a minute, we're being gaslighted here just for political gain, it could turn them violently against the pro-Palestinian marches. And in fact, I think that is what happened. I think that when the football fans came out, they were furious that their football enjoyment was being spoiled by this political protest. That was gaslighting them. That was using them for their own political ends. And I think it turned a lot of the football fans against the Palestinian protesters. And I think that is going to spread throughout the whole footballing, community throughout the UK. And that's not going to help. That's going to destabilize the country even more, where you have tens of thousands of football fans who are resolutely furious and angry at this Palestinian protesting that used Aston Villa's football stadium for their own purposes. You've now galvanized perhaps hundreds of thousands of football fans against your cause, who are, many of them, violently inclined to put you in your box. So the establishment is guilty of really causing deeper division in society. And then finally, or coming to an end, I think a couple of things. Really, we have no leadership in government. We have no leadership in Parliament. We have no leadership in the House of Lords. We sad to say, we have a degenerate, corrupt, fickle, unwise, impractical Parliament, and we have a police force that is not fit for purpose, a police force that has been watered down. The quality of the police that are in the police at the moment is substandard. We're in a crisis in our political class. We're in a crisis with our police. The judiciary has been politicised and is constantly listening to what the government says rather than sticking to what the law should be. Our media is duplicitous. It lacks any objectivity. And the royal family, I'm afraid, are not aware of what the main issues are in society. The Church of England is a disgrace and has been corrupted by woke ideology. And we have the rise of Islam. And we are in a major crisis in our society. It could be that God has finished with the UK and is allowing the UK to disappear under the wrath and judgment. There seems very little sign of true revival. People say there's been revival amongst the Patriots or revival by Mr. Chan, Dan Chan, or whatever his name is, in London. But the reality is there's no real true revival going on, spiritual revival. So unless God steps in and revives the country spiritually, sad to say, I think we're heading for the final curtain on the UK. I think the end is coming. The only hope that Britain has is a revival of true Christianity. Nothing else is going to save the country. I think the country's gone. I think it's politically gone. I think it's morally gone. And I think it's a sinking ship that can't be recovered unless there's a massive turning back to God. That's my thinking. So God bless you and take care.